back on the tail of Gunnar. As he's looking to make an overtake already. Down the inside he goes.
Is he gonna go?
He's gonna do it!
Oh, with Hackett now up into P9. Down the inside he goes. Another aggressive move on the other Mercedes driver. Is he going to make a mistake? Doesn't look like.
Closing. Problem is, if he goes.
Oh, that's nice for Broad Adam, moving up to P7.
As he's currently looking to gain about 3 or 4 points. Oh, and is Nelboy going to go for it down the inside of Waza? Seems like he is, and he makes up that position. Beautiful overtake by Nelboy.
12 races, multiple divisions, 20 drivers.
All that sound good? Then why not join us now ahead of the new season? The link to our Discord will be in the description, and we hope to see you on track with us.
Delta T Racing.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Delta T Racing. As you can see, we are at the ultra intense MotoGP track in Qatar for the penultimate round here in season 14. We have our first couple of drivers coming out onto the track. We'll ride on board with Kazingal as he does his outlap. This track never normally sees any rain. However, Division 1 was actually threatened with it late into the race last night. Despite it never actually arriving, could we see any here tonight? We will find out soon enough. We certainly had plenty of rain in Las Vegas here in Division 2 last week. Track limits penalties will be absolutely rampant, so a game of penalty bingo could be on the cards. Overtaking can be difficult around here, but hopefully Division 2 will provide, as they ever do. You, of course, are here with me, Grelis33. Let's get straight into qualifying. But actually, before we do that, take a quick look at the standings with just the 2 races to go. D Summers still leading after completing 164 points over Johnny with 139. A big gap with just the 2 races to go. Of course, with that gap, he could be crowned champion here tonight. Hello to everyone in the chat, by the way. Andre, hello, and Benny, hello. Nell is back. Yes, I will get onto him in a second. We have been missing him over the last few races. However, with the standings still, Bogarovsky in 3rd and Havoc Connor in 4th. Very tight between those two. Andre in P5 could be trying to take those positions away from them. But looking over to the constructor standings, the Racing Bulls already a long way into it. I think they might even be champions. I'm not sure what the point's saying, but that is enough of that. We are now on board with the McLaren for his first lap of this qualifying session and the first qualifying lap of all. Let's see what pace he can bring. A little bit hesitant into turns 1 and 2, using plenty of curb on entry and exit though, which is fantastic stuff for getting the quickest lap around a track at all, especially a track around here where basically all of the curbs are usable. No sausage curbs around here as far as I'm aware. Nice braking into the hairpin left-hander in sector 2, of course, a purple sector 1, and he's the first man to do it on a hot lap. Plenty of that curb on the inside being used, a little bit to be desired on the exit. Just one more braking zone if you dare for the rest of this lap now. Battery will be on for the triple right-hander, at least in some capacity. Otherwise, you will drain speed with the scrubbing those front tyres provide through this really fast section. Not too bad, but he is in hot lap, so that should be a reasonably quick pace through there. A little bit of a lift, I think, in the penultimate corner. One last final braking zone to go. Just enough ERS to get him to the line. He'll open the DRS to set a lap of a 1:24.1 as your banker. Pipke already absolutely flying. Does a 22.7 to set a new fastest lap. I'm sure that will be beaten at some point, but it's not going to be easy to do so. Pretty much everyone actually on track, and as soon as I say it's not easy to do, Bog does it by just over a 10th. A 22.6 now, your provisional pole time for the Haas driver. Didn't have an amazing race here last night, but starting in last and getting up to P7, I believe Bog did. So he should be hoping to have a good race here. Another lap done there for the Aston Martin. And D Summers did a 23.2, slightly slower than I would expect for him. We've actually got the skipper of Composite. Maybe he was on a lap and has spun in the second sector. Yellow flags there. Hopefully hasn't impeded anyone. Might be Andre or in fact that is actually Ipke on his in-lap. So no, he didn't seem to impede anyone. Raikkonen has done a 24.2 as well as Tom Putty a 23.3. Johnny slips into the 22s with a 22.8. Good times so far. Anyway, as I said I was going to, he's not on track yet, but Nell is back. He's took a little hiatus due to his knee, I believe, but of course he's back here tonight, which is good stuff. He's a very quick driver, and if he can compete with the likes of Bog, well, it could be a 1-2 for the Haas boys tonight. NLD Rush at 28.9. You'd like to think that was just a first and second warm-up lap, and this will be his lap now. He's actually behind a McLaren, who maybe he's giving him a tow, but it's not going to help him through corners like this. Definitely on a lap with the McLaren, no. This definitely could be seen as impeding. What is he doing? Both McLarens have done their lap. This is going to be Kazingo who's in front of him. Maybe he's on a second lap for himself, and he's just absolutely messed up the timing. That's off track for the Williams. He's going to abort that lap, I would think. Evan Connor has gone and got himself P5 ahead of his teammate by 0.003 of a second into the top 5, as I just mentioned. 22.870. I believe there was talk of a 22.3 earlier on. So if he can get that, he'll be well pleased. Him down now. We've got Nelboy coming out of the pits, as well as, in fact, is that Andre on his lap? Yes, it is. We'll go off board. This track has got a few good cameras to provide some good action on around this track. Also being so high speed, it can be difficult to get side by side through some of these. A good exit or a poor exit from your opponent out in front will always provide a little bit of wheel-to-wheel action into some of these braking zones. Purple sector 1, although it did dissipate, so I'm going to believe that was just a personal best. Jump back on board is a little bit more exciting, and not a huge amount of ERS used. Sorry, we've got 90% battery in his Ferrari. He's only got one sector left to burn all that up. Nice lines through the triple right-hander. Plenty of curbing taken. Almost flat through the penultimate corner. One more corner to go. He's got all the ERS in the world to take that to the line. Plenty of gas out of the final corner, and DRS open just before the line. E7 at 23.2. Not bad from Andre in the Ferrari, but I reckon we can see a little bit more speed from him later on. Got the top 3 back out again. Bog, Pipke and Riker on outlaps. In fact, we're going to go down to his teammate Nelboy, who's in the first corner. Actually got a special livery, I believe, there. Looks like the Texas livery that Haas ran last year. The stars and stripes, of course. Through the double right-hander, you can take a lot of speed through there when you get the line right. Always fun to get that bit right with the track limit so close to the edge of your tyres. Decent line, actually, through that long right-hander. Always feels tricky with the amount of understeer you can get when the tyres really heat up. But actually, you might be receiving a bit of oversteer. There's a bit of off-camberedness in the entry to that corner that never seems to make sense, at least when I do it. Always tends to throw the back end out if you haven't got enough downforce. Yellow flags ahead. Hopefully that won't put Nelboy off. There's a Ferrari going slowly in the penultimate corner, but he's well clear, and actually in the gravel. Don't go too far off. One more corner for the Haas driver, who is making a return after quite some time. And he's into the pits, not happy with the time. Didn't seem to invalidate unless I was being completely oblivious. Not happy, he'll go into the pits and he'll go again at some point. His teammate coming into final sixth sector now. In fact, either he's aborted this lap or he's doing a double out lap. So we'll jump on board with someone else. Johnny is definitely on a lap. 60% battery after the first sector. Sure, he'll burn a little bit more here if he... No, actually, doesn't. He's on hot lap, so it's going to be burning a considerable amount anyway. Nothing can beat overtake, of course. There we go. There it is. Overtake into the triple right-hander. Of course, that speed is going to be carried for a long way around now. So always best to get it as early as possible and carry it as far and as long as possible. A little bit of turning always is going to slow you down, so the least amount of turning you can get through those green right-handers, the faster you're going to be. 30% battery, a little bit of that green bar left for his allowance this lap. That'll be plenty of to get him to the line. His teammate is just ahead of him. What can he do now? P3 at 22.7. Very good improvement. I think for a man who's not looking forward to this track tonight, I think he'll definitely take P3. We'll see where he's left standing after we have he crossed the line for a new pole time, almost 3/10 quicker than anybody else at the moment. A 22.358 for the Ferrari driver. Fantastic from him. I still believe he's got the most poles of anyone this season. Let me just have a quick look. He's got 3 poles so far. No one else has managed 3. 2 from Mr. Bogorovsky in the Haas, but he's the only other person to get more than 1. Got everyone out on track now. It's going to be tricky to keep up with people. I believe we just saw, who was that? Brother Adam up to P4 at 22.704 is a good time for the Mercedes driver. We got Havoc Connor, who is, I think, a potential pole sitter for tonight. A purple Sector 1 could be setting that in stone for us if he can keep it in between the lines on the second and third sector. He's got a car ahead who hopefully won't be impeding him too much through the corners. Might get a bit of slipstream down the straighter parts of the track. Yellow flag in sector 3, someone moving out of the way. Good stuff. Nice and tucked in on the left-hand side for the entry of the triple right-hander. Can gain so much time just by sticking to that left-hand side coming into sector 3. It's actually fascinating how people don't do it, and that is an invalidation. As I said, he had to keep it in between the lines. If he's going to set a lap, that'll be straight into the pits on a fresh set of tyres and back out again. In fact, no, did he notice he went off track? He was 2/10 up, but 22.6 the time he would have set. I think he might have been impeded anyway. That's not as fast as he can go. He knows that. I know that. He'll go again. But I'm not sure why he didn't just pit straight away. Then McLaren coming around and into the pits. Brother Adam will be doing the same. Down to Skipper. He's actually on his lap, I would assume, as well. A 24.079 for him at the moment. And not a rush yet to set a fast lap. In fact, he's 2 seconds off, so this must be yet another in-lap for the Williams driver. Yes, it is. 5 minutes to go in this session. Plenty of time to get out and go again. But for those who didn't manage to get a second lap in or haven't set a particularly good lap yet, they might want to go a bit early just to make sure if they mess their lap up again, they've got a time to go around and start one final hop. O'Connor being one of them, of course, as we saw going wide in sector 3. Well, not going wide, but basically cutting the corner. I suppose that could be considered wide still. Wide in the other direction. Got the Alpine of Raikkonen going through sector 2 on his warm-up lap. And I believe that was D-Rush. And we've got some more coming out. Let's have a look at this composite out on... No, he's still gone round, actually. Olgarovsky is out, though, with... I believe that might be... Nice. He is teammate of Andre. Should really pay attention to where it's just out lap on the left hand side. I would know who it was then. 23.2 for Andre at the moment, and Pipke at 22.3. If they could just switch Andre's numbers around there, 22.3 rather than a 23.2, that would be fantastic. Of course, as I mentioned, almost every single race The two Ferrari drivers are normally incredibly consistent across qualifying and the race, which plays into their hands for qualifying for sure, but sometimes they do lose out to people who do not have a good quali and just have insane pace throughout the race. E Summer's one of those who has had a little bit of struggles in qualifying of recent. In Las Vegas, I believe he only qualified 7th, same position he's in now, in fact. Or it was at least somewhere around there. Got some more drivers coming out now, 3 minutes to go. This will be almost everyone's final attempt unless we see someone invalidate and have to go around once again. We'll stick on board with Andre as he's the first one to be on an outlap. In fact, it might be Raikkonen, but I'll just keep an eye on him around the track map. Rounds 1 and 2, a little bit more on the inside curb to be taken there, and a bit of exit curb left to its own devices, unfortunately. Want to use as much as that as possible. A nice amount of turn in for turns 4 and 5. Get on the throttle as early as you possibly can, and quite a late braking into the left hairpin always seems to do me a good job. So looks like a purple sector 1 for Andre. This could be an incredibly quick lap if this Williams ahead moves out of the way, which hopefully he will do as soon as possible. There's probably a corner too late already. Hopefully he'll get out of the way now. Or he's giving him a... Oh, no, that is just impeding. That is a shame. It's a purple sector 2 and he invalidates because of the Williams ahead. Bug now behind the Ferrari. The Ferrari, oh, he's just got out of the way, and Bug's just kept it on track after crashing into the back of an Alpine at the same part of the track yesterday. I'm sure a bit of PTSD and he's invalidated on the final corner. Too much of that inside curb off the white line, and that is his qualifying finished. Real shame for Bug there. He's just... I don't know how a man can have so much bad luck throughout a season. He had the horrible incident in qualifying yesterday, and now potentially an even more heartbreaking one as he was at the final corner of what was going to be an incredibly quick lap. 2 purple sectors as far as I'm aware. We'll see if his teammate can do anything about potentially getting a Haas on pole position. In fact, he's not, because he has retired from the session. Maybe doing a last to first. Taking on board with Johnny for now. He can definitely do a bit of a quicker time, even if he doesn't believe it himself. One more corner to go. Used a bit more battery, it would seem, at this point compared to his other lap. Should be enough still to get him across the line, although it has depleted now. DRS open at 22.4 with a 2.5 tenth improvement, puts in P2. That's fantastic stuff. Pombeers at a 22.5. What can he improve to? Skipper moves up to P13 with a 123.489, and Riker up to P5 with a 22.653. Pombeer, new fastest lap. 22.2 for the Williams driver. Good stuff there. Got a McLaren going around. That is D. Summers. No, in fact, it's his teammate, Zingle. If we can get Jamal. Oh, just missed him across the line at 23.7. Moves him up. D. Summers didn't get to the line in time. I believe it did say he was on an outlap. So he's done the exact same thing I did there last night and missed out on a final run. Gonna have Connor come across the line. Hopefully 7 tenths up. Pole position at 22.0, 3 tenths quicker than he'd predicted before the race. That is a fast lap. Fantastic stuff for him. Brother Adam doesn't seem to improve. No, a 10.5 slower. We've got a I think that was, who just crossed the line. He seemed to not improve, at least positionally. Finally, we got Johnny, but I think this is his in-lap. Yes, it is Brother Adam. It's Brother Adam's teammate, Tom Putty, who's going to finish his final lap. 4.5 tenths improvement puts him up to P10 at 23 dead for the second of the 2 Mercedes. Riker up to a 22.1, gave it his best shot at trying to compete with Connor, but that pole time, a 10th and a bit quicker. He wasn't ever going to do anything against a time as quick as that. And I think that's it. Got Raikkonen in, Skipper is on an in lap, and so is Kazingo. And there you have it. Havoc Connor, once again, he got pole in Las Vegas last week and decided to absolutely run away with that race, even with the threat that Andre posed near the end. Can he do it again tonight? Riker in P2, that's a fantastic lap for him. A 22-1 still puts him just under a tenth ahead of Pombeer. Interesting top three, actually. I mean, there's definitely a good argument to say that the top 8 and a few extras always are fighting for that pole position. And there we have it, the end of your qualifying for Qatar. Ipke P4, that's a good session from him. Let's see if he can either maintain or gain a few places in the race. Havoc Connor, of course, as I mentioned, your pole sitter with a rapid time of a near 21. The 22 dead will do for pole now. Riker a 22-1 in second. Pombeer finishes off your podium starters. Pipke and Johnny, very good laps from them. A little bit ahead of Barry Bogorovsky, who could have seen pole position tonight, but we won't know because he invalidated his final lap. Brother Adam, D Summers, D Rush and Tom Putty finishes off your top 10, and the last 6 you can see there. Nell not setting a time after he did go out, so maybe just to set the setup on, just to make sure he didn't miss out on that in the race. We will see and keep one eye on him throughout the race. He's got plenty of pace usually, so he could be a big mover as we get into the first few laps. At least if he avoids all carnage anyway. The dry start for the race, as you can see. So not often we had rain here. At least I'd never actually seen any rain in Qatar, but they said we were going to have some last night, about 10 to 15 minutes before the race ended. Or actually after the race ended, I should say. Finalising setups, of course, making sure they've got the right amount of fuel in the car. You can burn quite a lot around here. You're on throttle for so long through some of these long and real fast corners, and the downforce levels some people take are particularly high. Of course, if you're stuck in a DRS train, that will always help you out with the fuel, and any VSCs or full safety cars will do the same. Strategies, tyre-wise at least, you're going to be looking at probably about, I'd say, 75-25%. 75% taking a 2-stop. That's either a double medium or a double hard with the other on the single stint. Or for those brave enough to stick it out, you'll see a 1-stop with the hards and mediums, with starting on the hards, starting on the mediums. Get that up actually now with the detail. There we go. Tyres, we've got a good mix actually. Actually, we've got more hards than mediums, which we never normally see in races. Havoc Connor, our pole sitter, starting on the hard tyre with Riker on mediums behind. You'll have to watch out for him. Ipke and then Johnny on mediums as well. Bog on hards and offsetting his strategy from the two in front. I went with the hard to medium last night, which worked out well for me. I did give on the go-ahead to try that strategy. I think that will be very useful for him if he can keep the pace up with the front guys, which he's clearly shown he can in qualifying. And then we got Brother Adam and D Summers on the mediums, and then a set of 3 hard runners with Raikkonen squeezed in the middle of another 4 hard runners at the back. Take those off for the start, get everything else up that we usually have. I think that should be it. We'll keep on interval for now. Of course, as we always do, we'll check the positions gained and lost after the first 2 or 3 laps. See who has had an incident or who has had the opportunistic moment to get around everyone else who's usually having the incident in turns 1 and 2. Wing damage is just not doable here. If you get any sort of wing damage, even if it is incredibly light, you can feel it through a lot of the high-speed sections. They can absolutely ruin tyre wear. So it's almost always beneficial to get a new wing on and go again on a fresh set of tyres. as the final few get onto the grid. D-Rush does not park it properly. This is his grid spot. Don't think anyone else is going to do the same. And as soon as I say that, Composite, this is his grid spot as well. The Aston Martin on the right-hand side there with the medium tyres, which look fantastic with the yellow accents of that livery. Will he get the jump on Connor into turn 1? The lights are out after a really long hold. It's a good start from the two medium runners on Pombeer and Havant Connor. They're going to go very wide into turn 1 if they're not careful. Havant Connor does not want to lose the position, but he's going to try and stick around the outside. He doesn't quite do it. He's going to let the Aston Martin pass for now. He knows he's going to be quicker on those medium tyres. Pombeer is not having a good time of it at all. Under threat from those around him on the medium tyre. We got D Summers looking for an inside move potentially at the back here. He's also going to be defending his inside from whoever is behind. We've got Brother Adam making a move on D Rush. He seems to be in a bit of a pickle. On the inside here, don't seem to have any wing damage. Looks like pretty much everyone has got through without too much carnage into lap 1. Back up to the top 3. Have a Connor. Already dropped the 1 second to Riker. He needs to get back into that DRS, otherwise the medium tyre is just going to run away, at least for the first 4, 5 or 6 laps. The tyre wear does not come in quickly. It's plenty of off track there. It depends. Sometimes you can get away with the track limits warnings, but you do want to be careful. 1.4 now, the gap between Connor and Riker out in front. Hopefully he'll be able to do a little bit of work in the next few laps as the tyres warm up. We got Pipke going for a move already into turn 1. No DRS needed for him. He's going to be ahead of the V-Carb going into turn 1. Havant Connor probably just thinking, I'm going to have to let him past, losing so much time, see if he can keep the DRS of Pipke through sectors 2 and 3. Looks like it's going to be tricky to do so, but hopefully for him, he will manage. Boy started last. He's still in last for now. He's on the hards. He's not really pushing too much. We've got Zingle right in front, putting pressure on the Kick Sauber in front. He's made him go wide. Glides back onto the track. Doesn't do any damage. He's gone wide again. This is absolutely fantastic from the McLaren driver, forcing the error from the opposite ahead from me in the Kick Sauber. Fantastic racing, considering this is a track where you don't see a particularly large amount of overtakes through anywhere apart from turn 1. Single file for most through sector 2. Just wanting to keep that DRS. Havant Connor looks like he's just about done it. That's wide from the Haas driver of Barry Bogorovsky in sector 3, which is going to jump on board quickly with Khan to see if he actually did get the DRS on Pipke in front. If he didn't, he could be worried, but he did get it this time. Riker sets a fastest lap of a 26.242. He is in no rush to stick around. He is off and away. Pombeer defending from Johnny. Andy Summers, in fact, in turn 1 does a perfectly good job there, not quite doing enough to get it into turn 1, the V-Carb. D Summers also very close to the back, but of course when the driver in front of you has DRS, it makes it twice as hard to get past into the braking zones. Got a few people close back here. Andre right on the back. NLD Rush, who we saw struggling on the hard tyre early on. Let's have a quick look at position changes here. Not a fantastic amount of position changes. It looked like there was a lot more going on. A couple of places for the guys up front who decided to go for the medium tyre on the start. Where's the tyre? There we go. The two hard runners losing out to the two medium runners that are now in first and second. D Summers doing well on the medium against Barry Bogorovsky, who's only dropped 1 place at least compared to Con. And Brother Adam the same. Putty actually gained a place on the hard, so that's good for him. Two Mercedes drivers right next to each other now in P8 and 9. You'd like to think they're going to try and keep it that way. The medium runner would always be ahead for the start, see if they can get some moves done while the hard runner plays out their strategy. No penalties as of yet. Just looking up and down. Still no overtakes into turn 1, but we might see one back here for Kazingle on the inside of Skipper into turn 1. It goes no, that's perfectly fine actually. He looked like he was going to go deep, but plenty of space on the outside of turn 1. Of course, Skipper was plenty hesitant anyway to avoid all and any damage. That was a good move for the McLaren driver on lap 4 of this 29 lap race. He will be wanting to get a move on as they've actually broken off the back of the majority in that middle pack. Riker, the one leading 1.6 seconds ahead of everyone else. Pipke doing a decent job, I would say, in keeping that gap as it is, though. In fact, might even be gaining a little bit through the parts of sector 2. I'll start a little bit there on an entry to the corner, just the tyres not quite holding up on the grip that Pipke's demanding from them. Havoconnor now doing a much better job at staying within the DRS of the car in front. Those hard tyres finally warmed up, awake and alive to get racing. Keep an eye on the times as they come round to the start-finish straight. Of course, I mentioned, and I will mention probably 1,000 times, this is the best place for overtaking around this track. But even when you've got that DRS, look at the gap between these two. Still 3.5 tenths by the time they got into turn 1, and Connor was not messing around. He's used plenty of battery to try and move in. Still nothing doing for anyone. D-Rush getting a little bit closer to Tom Putty, but not enough. If anyone is listening to me in the commentary and is actually in the race, I reckon if you can get close through turns 1 and 2, out of turn 2, burn the battery into turn 4, you can catch your rival ahead unaware sometimes, and that makes for a lovely late braking move into turns 4 and 5. Always puts them off through the rest of the second sector as well. You're likely going to keep that move if you do get it done. Pipke dropped a big chunk of time now, 4 tenths, 5 tenths through this lap alone. Havoconnor half a second off the back of the Ferrari driver. It might be these mediums are not holding up as well for Pipke as they are other people. Here we go. Havoconnor on Pipke into turn 1. DRS has got the job done easy. He's late braking, but actually gets the start stopped nice and quickly. Those hard tyres potentially already coming into their advantage range with the wear being so high around a track. It's got so much pressure on the tyres through these really, really fast high G manoeuvres. Barry Bogorowski right on the back of D Summers now, even though he's on a harder compound tyre. Like I said, these tyres might already be giving out for the medium runners. Maybe more should be thinking out the two-stop than I had currently anticipated. Brother Adam, one of those drivers who did start on the mediums, is dropping back off of Barry Bogorowski, who potentially you would think would have gained even more if he hadn't got that McLaren right in front of him. Johnny as well. He's gaining really, really a large amount on Pombier, who is actually on the hards. Could see a couple of moves into turn 1 here. Havoconnor doing a good job and reeling in Riker on those hard tyres. 1.4 seconds the gap now. Havoconnor sets a new fastest lap for good measure, in fact, the 25.9, the first one to do so in the 25s. Nothing doing just here. Neither for Bog. We have got a move though. Or have we? No, not quite. Actually, Tom Putty had to move to the inside of turn 1 to defend NLD rush behind. Still got the DRS, I believe, from Brother Adam, his teammate ahead of him. But even though he did have to try and make sure that D-Rush didn't even have a glimpse at taking that P9 position away from him. Lap 7 now. This is getting to the point where all those people who have considered the two-stop are going to be thinking about pitting. especially now that they're going to be noticing those people on the hard tyres will be going reasonably quicker. I mean, Pipke's actually been dropped by Connor now. 1.1 seconds the gap between him and Riker out in first. The medium's giving in for the Aston Martin. When overtaking is as tricky as it is around a track like this, strategy becomes integral to your finishing position. A couple of tenths dropped through the final sector for Connor, but I don't think he'll be worried too much about that. He'll gain those back likely over the next few corners and laps. Pombeer close enough for DRS, but not to make a move. Johnny will be really annoyed that Pombeer did actually get the DRS, because that means he's got no chance of making a move into turn one. But I'll tell you, as Barry Bogorovsky on the inside of Daniel Summers into turn one, the championship leader tries to hang it around the outside, but the tyres are just saying no. That is a fantastic move for Bog into turn one. D Summers will sit now and try and keep the rest of them behind. He's not going to lose any more positions. In fact, he'll probably consider going to the pits after 8 laps. We have had one person driver into the pits. That is Raikkonen in the Alpine. Can't quite see what tyre he's on there. Let's just get that up. Fresh hards for him. He'll be doing a 2-stop. Whether it's a hard medium or a hard, we'll have to wait and see. Riker now losing out again to Connor through the sectors 1 and 2. A couple of tenths gained for the V car, but whether he can keep it up through sector 3, he didn't manage to do that last time. He won't be getting any DRS if he's losing the time he is. Yeah, well, look at that through sector 3, and particularly the triple right-hander. A good 10th dropped, although he has gained it back coming out of it. D Summers is our first man to pick up a 3-second penalty, although it might have actually been Kazingle. He just did it right before him. No DRS for Connor this time either. Riker doing a real good job at keeping him out just about. Pipke 2 seconds off now. Can Pombeer make an impression? We got D Summers into the pits. I did mention it. The undercut is pretty strong around here, but if your tyres wear out too quickly, it doesn't make it any more worth it than staying out for the same lap as everybody else. Nothing doing there. We've got a bit of a cluster going on here, actually. Let's get on board with this. The 2 Mercedes drivers who are holding up everyone else are actually battling hard with NLD Rush and Andre side by side into turn 4. The Mercedes finally concedes the position, but he's going to fight it back again through turn 5. Almost clips the rear end of the Williams. Might have done, as you see the car lose a bit of grip on the rear, and the Williams as well now losing grip. Andre wants a piece. Any opportunity you can sniff around the track to make an overtake when it's as difficult as it is in turn 1, you will try and take it. Plenty of ERS for Andre. In fact, he's going to be looking for a move on one of these at least into turn 1. I would have thought if he can keep the gap between them nice and close. We'll get the tyres up just to see who has and hasn't pitted and what they're going on to. D Summers, of course, as I mentioned, going in for the hard tyre. 14 seconds off the back. Hopefully a bit of fresh air will keep him with good pace and better tyre wear for now. Connor finally gets DRS on Riker out in front. Pipke is the first of the front guys to pit. Yeah, definitely. He's in for some hard tyres off the 9-lap-old medium tyres. Riker sticks it out. Interesting to see when he pits and where he comes out of the pits relative to everyone else. For those of you who did stick around for Division 1 yesterday, you'll have seen that the hard tyres were so much better by the time the medium had pitted. Once you get past them, you can get a bit of fresh air and a few laps worth of decent pace before you pit your mediums, and then when you come out, you've got supreme pace over the hard tyre runners, even after a few laps of warming up. Johnny nice and close to Pombeer, who for a moment I did think was going to take pole in the qualifying for tonight's race. Didn't quite do it in the end. Incredibly stiff competition, of course, though, so you can't expect any one person then really to try and take pole and keep it. It's always a bit of a mystery, although Connor is doing very well over the last 2 races, in qualifying in particular. A little bit wide there for Pombeer ahead. That could have been a track limits warning. Don't want to get too many of them. Breaking the slipstream to Johnny behind. I don't think he's going to have to do that too much. Although he is gaining more. Doesn't risk a dive into turn 1. Much more reasonable than most, I would say, from Johnny there. Avacona didn't make a move either into turn 1. Or if he did, he didn't quite get it done. I'd have thought that if he was at least alongside, the advantage of the hard tyres would have kept him that position over the very worn out mediums now for Riker. Still only 4 people to have pitted. Pipke, D. Summers, Bill Radaman, and Raikkonen all onto some fresh hard tyres. The undercut can be big around a track like Qatar. Tyre wear is so high. Especially for those who are in clean air. Brother Random might be getting slowed up a little bit by D. Summers. Which of course always makes your undercut a little bit worse than it could have been. Will we see Riker pit, or is he going for the one stop? In fact, I think the one stoppers, yeah, they did go in on lap 10 or 11 in yesterday's race. So that is it for Riker and his medium stint. He will take the hards, I suspect, to the end of this race now. This frees Havoc Connor to go and put in some good times. Hopefully the tyres got a bit of life left in them for that. Pombeer already doing the same. Johnny almost gets moved on down the inside on the medium tyres, which must be so much more worn than Pombeer's hard tyres. It's surprising that he's getting so close to making a move into second position, at least on track for now. The rush very close as well. Tom Putty actually getting around the outside of turn 3. Side by side they go into turns 4 and 5 down the inside. He gets a bit of an edge, but seems to have got a little bit of wheel banging going on through into turn 5. Concedes the position to the Mercedes driver, potentially the right thing to do, although we didn't get quite the best view of it. I'm sure if there is any wrongdoings going on, they'll be sent to the stewards and sorted out accordingly, but I don't think we've got any malicious intent in that one. Nellboy starting last into 9th for the moment. Hard tyres for the Haas driver, as well as his teammate who's in P4. Keeping those 2 kick Saubers behind. He's got a McLaren in front with a 3-second pen. So won't be too worried about overtaking him. Or in fact, he's got a 6-second pen now. A bit of commentator's curse there. Apologies, Zingle. I thought it was an overtake. It was just Johnny coming into the pits to get rid of those medium tyres. 12 laps on the medium tyres is fantastic. He'll be able to take a little bit more out of those hard tyres in his second stint now than some of the others who pitted a little bit earlier on. Definitely be a one-stop for him. These 4 staying as they were before the start-finish straight. We've actually got a move for D. Summers against Johnny coming out of the pits. Is he going to get it done? Johnny's going to stick it around the outside. That's fantastic from the V-carb driver. Despite those tyres being a little bit colder, they almost come together into turn 4. Whoa, that's a big hit. The V-carb doesn't even look like he braked into that point in there. It looks like he's going to try and give the position back, although there's a bit of kissing going on. Oh, a bit of lag actually between these two. Not sure who that is in particular. I think there was damage. It certainly felt like it. Yeah, front end plate on that McLaren has disappeared. That was incredibly quick. I'm not sure what happened there. Whether Johnny thought he was just going to back out, I don't know. He was going so quick into turn 4. He was never ever going to make the corner. Not good for our championship leader, who has already picked up a penalty. That front wing damage is only going to make it easier to do so, going wide through plenty of these corners, in particular in Sector 3. Andre has pitted in his Ferrari. That'll be for a fresh set of mediums. No overtakes, as I can see on the leaderboard. Although Nellboy is getting particularly close to Kazingle into turn 3 now. Johnny just about gets ahead of Andre. He's backed off quite a lot in these summers. I don't know if he's just getting a bit of guilt and wants to just slow down a bit. Try a little bit of a self-punishment. Raikkonen just ahead of Andre, who's pitted for some fresh mediums. I suspect he'll be on the move past a few of these drivers ahead as soon as those have warmed up. Riker, Composite Skipper, and Nellboy all behind Kazingle in a bit of a DRS train. Up 10 positions. Of course, plenty of those coming from people pitting around. Up to P6 from last. He's definitely made a few moves that I haven't seen. Could be making yet another one. He can stay as close as he is to the McLaren ahead through this last corner. Much later on the brakes. It might compromise his exit a little bit. DRS, of course, will maintain a higher top speed with the DRS being burnt as well into turn 1. I reckon this is good for a move. Would he go inside or out? Outside is the move for the Haas driver. Done on the brakes. Plenty of space. That was a move done and dusted for Nellboy. Fantastic stuff for a man who's not raced in quite some time. Movement at the back. Andre, as I mentioned, making moves on the drivers ahead. Fresh medium tyres giving him the advantage over those around him, right on the back of Johnny, who I think just lost out to Tom Putty down the main straight. I believe he's carrying a bit of extra downforce, which is unlike Johnny, I must say. He likes a low downforce setup. Of course, for this track, not really preferred. Seems to be struggling after his collision with the Summers. Andre virtually pushing him through sector 2 at this rate. Nellboy's doing a fantastic job of dropping Kazingle after making his overtake through turn 1. Pombeer finally comes into the pits, call it quits for the hard tyre. He's going to take the mediums to the end. 16 laps done on those hards. You'll have plenty of wear on the mediums to use up and catch those guys who may have undercut him from pitting earlier on with the medium hard strategy. Dingle picked up another 3-second penalty. In fact, we're doing pretty well for penalties. I think last night was much worse than this at lap 16. Can we see another move for Andre? It's a fastest lap. Could be the double for Andre here. If he can get the braking done on Johnny, he thinks better of it into turn 1. He knows it's quicker. He knows that he gives a bit of patience, and he will get that move done at some point. Keep an eye on Pombeer and see where people come out relative to him. We've actually got Pipke right up the back of Skipper's tail end through sector 2. Not really being able to make a move through any of this stuff. Although it's a big mistake for the Kick Sauber ahead. He doesn't quite get the opportunity to go around the outside, but he's going to think about it anyway. Can we get a switchback? Get the power on. ERS as well. Into the triple right-hander. Not quite got the acceleration needed for Pipke. He'll have to stick behind, but I'm sure once he gets through the triple right-hander and the last 2 corners with the DRS, he'll make the move into turn 1. Like it's nobody's business. NLD Rush pits now. Raikkonen 3-second penalty. It's going to be easy for Pipke to get past those two as they put into the pits. We'll just bring up the tyres once again so we get a good idea of where everyone is at. Bog and Con still out, as well as Nell. He's actually going to be using Riker to stick to the back through this lap. Johnny sets a new fastest lap at 25.5. Good stuff for him on his hard tyres, I should say. But he's under threat from Andre into turn 1. It looked like he got the move done, but Johnny's fighting back into turn 2. He almost cuts him off. A little bit of room left, but very aggressive racing. Good stuff between those two through turns 1, 2, and 3. Johnny backs out ultimately at the end. He knows he's got the tyres that will give him the advantage as we come into the latter stages of this race. Back up to Pombeer. He's on the mediums for the rest of this race. I would like to think this is the opportunity for Bog and Con to pit now, as well as Nell, in fact, on the hard tyres. If they don't come in now, they're going to be losing all the more time as they wear off. Yep, that is it. We'll have it. Connor, he's pulled the plug, he's in. So's Bog. "17 laps done for them on the hard tyres. A good stint. It's pretty much what I did yesterday. Onto the mediums now. Where will he come out relative to Pombeer? Riker's going to jump them both. Of course, you'd think he might be going for a two-stop if he can't get those hards to the end. Nellboy stays out, in fact, after 17 laps on the hards. That's an interesting strategy. He's going to be real close into turn one between all three, and there's a bit of garnish between the Williams and Mercedes. Look at them both on the back. This could end pretty poorly. Connor sticks it around the outside, but just thinks better of it. There's no need to ruin your race right out of the pits. The colder tyres are always going to be a bit of a disadvantage for you. Let them warm up and get them later. You're going to have a massive advantage over Brother Random with 8 lap old tyres. Ray Bogorovsky doing fantastic as well. Only 3.5 seconds off the back of Con. That's good stuff for him. Nellboy has lost out to Pipke to sector 2. We're not doing him a great job of any traction of any sort, as we've seen there, even on the front brakes. Connor's pushing Brother Adam through sector 3. He's going to be really, really annoyed a little bit at Brother Adam because he's going to be losing all this time. The Pombeer ahead, 1.4 seconds the gap between those two now. Pombeer is going to have DRS on Nellboy ahead. He might be pitting and getting out of the way. All this time he's losing behind the Mercedes of Brother Adam is not good. His chance of winning this race, but you'd like to think, even though he's getting squeezed to the inside, the overspeed will be plenty enough to get the move done before braking. And even if it wasn't, he can brake so much later, although trying to prove me wrong by going a little bit wide. Into turn 1, a new fastest lap of a 24.6 for one of the Williams, I think it was. Might have been D-Rush. Yeah, that is a move done for Connor. Good move into turn 1. B Summers, your championship leader. E9 with a penalty. Not looking good for the McLaren driver. That damage does seem to be hurting him. Putty looking all over for making a move in his mirrors big time. 10 lap old, hard tyres are not going to be doing him any favours. Might be a threat into turn 1. Keep an eye out for that. Jumping back up to the front though. You've got Pombeer right on the back of Pipke. He'll have a bit of DRS. The boots keep him safe from having Connor behind. Looks like it's going to be the double overtake for these two. I can't see Pipke holding up these with those tyres. Look how much he's struggling to get through the final corner. Keep an eye. We'll jump on board with Connor. DRS for these two on Pipke. In fact, Pipke's doing an incredibly good job of keeping the speed into turn 1. He might even try and defend. Yeah, he's going to go around the outside. He's trying really hard. He's going to have to fight this on the inside of turn 2. He's going to go for it. Leaves plenty of space. The Williams will take that space and just get ahead for turn 4. Will he let the V-Carb past as well? He does. He's a wise man, Pipke. He won't take a fight he doesn't have to. If he can get his elbows out, a bit of entertainment for stream, he will. Love that about Pipke. He was much more timid at the start of this season. We saw him letting people past, not going for moves. He's a much more enjoyable Pipke to watch, and I hope that he enjoys it more as well. Bog right on the back of Brother Adam. He had the same issue as Havoc Connor earlier on, a much slower driver ahead. He's got a full battery coming into the final sector. It's going to be a pain losing all this time, especially when you've got the likes of Havoc Connor and Pombeer flying off up the road. Just keeping an eye on LD Rush, who's actually within 3/10 at one point there of Tom Putty ahead. But the Adam doesn't hold Bog up any longer, and Pombe's actually lost out to Connor down the straight. They're probably going to be DRS swapping, I would have thought, to try and gain time on the man who is currently in P1, Brother Adam, on a fresh set of hards. There we go, that was the move for D-Rush on Tom Putty into turn 1. Easily done on the brakes, plenty of overspeed, got him well ahead of the braking zone. Yeah, let me quick look at penalties actually. You've got 9 seconds for Zingle, that's a shame for him. Then 3 for D-Rush, D Summers and Raikkonen. And actually, D Summers pit once again. It's his second stop of the race. He's gone for what is a fresh set of hard tyres and a new front wing. He was well aware of the time he was losing due to that wing damage. Riker going well out in front on the hard tyre. He'll be taking these to the end. 5.7 seconds the gap between him and Connor, who's actually dropped Bombeer. No DRS sharing for you. Fantastic stuff. He's going to need to get a move on, though, if he wants to get back into the fight for P1. D Summers is digging a massive hole here. He's in last. He's already had 3 seconds worth of penalties given out to him. He's just picked up another 3. Johnny has left the session. Let me just see if I can get him back. There is an invite for you. He's actually gained a position, but it was on Andre because he's pitted. Or he's on mediums. He'll pit for some hard tyres. They will be absolutely razzed until the end. They will have plenty of wear for what's left, so it'll be full qualifying laps for Andre in the Ferrari. Speaking of Ferraris, Pipke's actually going to let Bog past. He knows those tyres are no good. He's going to lose more time than he gains from trying to battle with a car on fresher, faster tyres. Having Connor now 2.8 seconds clear of Pombeer and 3.8 on Riker. He's closing quick. He wasn't looking like he was going to do it in Las Vegas. He got lucky with Andre picking up a 10-second penalty with speeding in the pit lane whilst going in for a fresh set of tyres under the VSC. He might not need that VSC this week. We will have to wait and see. I don't want to commentate his curse here, although at this point what I've said would already have done that. Big gaps between practically everyone other than Pipke, who just had to let Bog past with the superior pace. 3.7 now as he comes across the start-finish line. Absolutely no battery left in this V-carb at all. As you can tell down the straight, he's just losing time. Now a quick look at tyres between these two. 11 laps on the hard for Riker versus just 5 for Havant Connor. That you would think is going to be an advantage for the whole rest of this race, even if the advantage gets slightly smaller every lap. We got Johnny in again. Hopefully that's not his AI doing that. Fresh set of hard tyres, and unless he was going to get a puncture, it makes me believe that that might have been. Hopefully he did get back into the race. He's not messaged me, so I'm going to believe he is. He will come out just ahead of Raikkonen, I believe. Yep. D Summers all the way in P16. This is not good for his championship fight. Although Johnny not going to be able to do anything back in 14th. The next man is Bog, who's actually a good 40 points behind, and he's only got P4. So despite D Summers' woes, he might be all right for now. Few people quite close to the car in front. Andre real close to the back of Composite through sector 2. Only a battery makes you think that he would have been pushing him around if he didn't have a bit more patience about him. He's got the overtake on. Is he going to go for it into turn? Yes, he is. The triple right-hander. Side by side going in. Skipper just, so Composite just backs out. Probably the wiser move. He knows he's not got the pace, and he did actually have a bit of wing damage. I spotted the end players come off. Didn't want to fight that, even though he definitely should, or could have rather. Skipper though, on the back of Zingle, has DRS going into turn 1, but not quite the overspeed. He's not using any ERS, so it won't be a move this time. He might try and build that up over the course of this lap and do it on the next. 2.7, the gap out in front between 1 and 2. Still closing. 5 laps to go after this one. Brother Adams closed in on these two pretty quickly with those hard tyres. Considerably fresher and likely warmed up now. He'll have the pace on them. Should be getting into the points, I would think, with these last few laps. Ooh, wide there from Kazingal. Coming into that long left-hander. Always easy to do when the back end steps out and you have to counter steer. Make sure you don't go spinning around. You can always end up wider than you'd like. That compromises your run from there almost all the way around these triple right-handers if you don't think about using an ERS to try and build the speed up that you lose on the traction. Tom Putty's pit, he's only got 4 laps to go. 5 laps, sorry. But he's pitting off the hard tyres. You can only think it's going to be because they're getting to puncture territory. Soft tyres for the Mercedes driver. That'll be a fast lap attempt, I would assume, as well. Also, always good to try and get that under your belt. A sign of dominance over the rest of the drivers, even if you know that everyone else was on really old tyres. Hogs actually crept in to that 1 second gap for DRS behind Pombeer. Podium for him tonight, I think, would be very good after his run of a first in Brazil and second out in Vegas last weekend. I'll be looking to get that move done anyway, even though that he will take it with the penalty that Pombeer picked up. Brother Adam, in fact, has actually got past Skipper. Didn't see that one, unfortunately, but I'm sure we'll see his move on Kazingal through turn 1, I would suspect. Building up that battery all the way through this third sector now. Bog is gaining into turn 1, but it doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to make a move. 2.5 tenths the gap under braking, but it just extends as they get through turns 1 and 2. The DRS, not the DRS, the Dirty Air pushing that time up. Plenty of speed through the final corner, gets him nice and close for this attack into turn 1. DRS and DRS will help. He's going to go and defend the inside. Zingalis around the outside for the Mercedes driver. Lovely late braking, gets him past the McLaren before the apex, and all he has to do is put his foot down and drive off into the distance. The tyre wear difference always going to mean that that was pretty much said and done by the point they'd got to wheel to wheel side by side in turn 1. Zingle going to be losing time, but he doesn't want to lose too much. He drops DRS because, of course, he'll be under threat from Skipper if he gets back into the 1 second. Tom Putty, soft tyres, he's 3.5 tenths up through sector 1, but he's getting held up by Johnny on the hard tyre. Even though they are nice and fresh, the gap will be quite substantial. We're going to go up to Bog because he's in the DRS once again. Not close enough, I would have thought. 8 tenths at the start of the straight. He's going to do a good job of getting close, but not close enough. 2 laps of tyre wear difference is not a massive amount around this track when it's as hard as it is to overtake. It might be a lot of tyre wear, but the gap you have to kind of get into to get a decent attempt into turn 1 is going to be 3 or 4 tenths for a lot of these drivers. Of course, depending on how much downforce you're carrying, it'll be slightly more or slightly less, and that also depends on the car in front. Very wide for the Williams. You can see how Boggs managed to catch up to Pombeer through these last few laps. Just a much cleaner line all the way around. Always gain your time on someone who's a little bit choppy through a lot of the corners. It's 1.1 seconds the gap between Havoc Connor and Riker in P1. Riker? Sorry if it's Riker or Ricker, and I've said the other one the entire night. Brother Adam, 3-second penalty for you. That's not good with your position in P8, but the other two have got penalties themselves. Skipper, I believe, at 3 and Kazingal at 9, so that shouldn't be anything to worry about. All the way over to the pit wall for Riker down the main straight. We've actually got, I think that's Skipper who's gone around in Sector 2. Andre got past, and he's now going to have to contend with Johnny and Tom Putty through the rest of this race. Just 2 laps to go, of course, 28 of 29. It's going to be close between these two. Tom Putty, a 3-second penalty. I said penalties were rampant. They were pretty good until at least halfway through the race. A few more picked up with the tyre wear as we've gone on. Skipper has lost that place to Johnny at the back. I'm going to keep an eye on these up front. He's want to keep that 1-second gap if he can for this last DRS attempt. Otherwise, you're going to have to try and do it in Sector 2, probably, or maybe Sector 3, depending on where he deploys his battery. 1.1 the gap. He needs to get it within the 1 for any chance of a move into Turn 1. Oh, it's real close to track limits. 3-second penalty would be catastrophic at this stage. So much battery used and only a 10th gain. Is he going to get it? DRS. He's on. He needs to get as close as he possibly can through this entire lap now. Can he force a mistake out of the Aston Martin in front? 17 laps on those hard tyres, where he's probably going to be reasonably similar at this stage. Much closer through Turn 2. If he can keep this kind of distance between himself and the Aston Martin coming into the end of this lap, he might have a good chance of getting me on the line, but he's got a 3-second penalty. Oh, Connor. All you had to do is keep it in between the lines. Riker's going to see that now, and he's going to be thinking, I'm going to drive as slow as I can. Do not need to push this now. Connor, if you can make an incident, not an incident, if you can force a mistake from the Aston ahead, that is the only opportunity you're going to get here. Unfortunately, Barry Bogorowski has basically just been sat in that penalty. That is fantastic for him. He'll be taking a podium at this rate. 3 more corners where he can try and stay close. The penultimate corner is a bit tricky. He's pushing him as hard as he can. It's not going to be the recreation of the result he had in Las Vegas. But for Riker, this is going to be, I believe, his first win in the league around Qatar in absolutely dominant fashion. A strategy that looked to be questionable, but always seemed to pay off at the end. Bog picks up P3. Of course, Connor, unfortunately, with a 3-second penalty, took himself out of the fight for P1, but P2 is still fantastic for him after taking pole. Bombier 4th, Pipki 5th, D-Rush, and then Nellboy in 6-7. Brother Adam will come around the corner in P8, but with that penalty, I'm not sure if it's 3 or 6, Andre might inherit that P8. He does, he got moves at the back. I'm putting on the soft tyre, sorry. I didn't have to jump on board with that. Johnny gets the fastest lap on the final lap. Not sure what happened there. Car just went off track. Skipper, not sure, blah, 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 I don't know. P. Summers has had an absolute rotter in P12. No points for him today. No points for the McLarens at all, in fact. And they're trying to win the Constructors. Of course, it was a pretty long shot for them. But anyway, it's going to be a big upset for our championship leader, but the gap he's got should be pretty good for him to take it in Abu Dhabi, as Lando Norris did this year in his McLaren. Well done to Riker on his win in the Aston Martin. That is fantastic news for him. I'm just checking now. He's actually only P12 in the standings. He's not done a massive amount of races, just the 3 before this one. A 3rd, 15th and 9th. But a win will look fantastic on his card for this season. There you go, your winner, Riker. Johnny picked up fastest lap right at the end, and Nellboy had a fantastic race from the very back. He picks up driver of the day and most overtakes, of course. not penalty bingo for tonight, but as I was saying, Con second and Bog third. Congrats to our podium sitters there. Pombeer picked up P4. Good strong race from him. Pipke unfortunately fell back a little bit after doing really well quite early on. I was on the medium hard strategy and lost out to those on the fresher tyres. D-Rush took P6. Nellboy in his return. P7. Good stuff for him. Brother Adam 8. 9 for Andre. And the final point going to Johnny with his fastest lap to boot. Tom Putty and the rest you can see below. Right then. With that, we have one more race this season. It will, of course, go down to Abu Dhabi, the current season finale, as you will all know from F1. I hope you enjoyed tonight's race. It's always a little bit slower around Qatar, despite it being such a quick track. We still had plenty of good overtaking and a bit of a fight near the end, although Connor just seemed to bottle it right at the last second, picking up his 3 seconds worth of penalties. He'll be kicking himself for doing so well, considering how many he managed to pick up yesterday in Division 1. We will be going to our final race in Abu Dhabi next week. I think it looks likely we have D Summers our champion, but of course anything can happen in Abu Dhabi, as we've seen tonight. No points for him means that it's going to be tricky, or at least trickier, to maintain in Abu Dhabi. Of course, as usual, you'll see Division 1 on Wednesday next week at 8 o'clock with D Summers on the comms. I will be there in the race, hopefully doing my best to beat Benny as per usual. And then, of course, the day after, we'll be back here again for the season finale of Division 2 in Season 14, commentated by yours truly, Gorillas33. I do truly hope you've enjoyed tonight. I certainly have. We will definitely have a fantastic race next week. Of course, we've had so many good races this season. This would be even better to have a good finale, of course. That would be brilliant. But anyway, we will see you next week.